Hello Skywatchers, space enthusiasts, and science fans, and thank you for zooming into the void for the month of April 2022 with the Danville Science Center. Today's void is a little bit different. It was originally recorded live for students in the 1st through 5th grade at Campbell County Online Learning Academy this past Friday, April the 8th. Part 1 of our conversation includes our usual tour of the night sky for April, highlighting several of the celestial events with a focus on the Artemis missions. Artemis I, humanity's attempt to ultimately return to the moon and get to Mars, is anticipated to launch next month. We focus on that during this part of Void. There will be a second part of Void coming out shortly where I answer some of these students' questions about space. Be sure to look for that. Enjoy your discovery of April's sky. But we always begin in the void by transporting to outside of the Digital Dome Theater of the Danville Science Center. To do that, I am using a free software program called Stellarium. You can download this yourself, adults, students, it's completely free. And then watch a few YouTube videos to learn how to set it to your location, and it's great for sky watching. This is what it currently looks like outside of the Danville Science Center, ideally, if it wasn't raining, if there were no clouds or extra buildings. We can tell right away that we are facing the southern sky, and if we take a few steps back, to our left is the east, to our right is the west, meaning that north is directly behind us. We can get an idea that it is indeed the 8th of April 2022, and it's just a few moments past 12:40. So we have our clock in our corner to help us keep track of time. Gazing skyward, our view is dominated by our central star, our medium-sized G2 star, the sun. The sun is not only just the source of all light and heat that we get on our planet, it's also the source of all energy. From the gas you use for your car to the foods you eat to fuel your body, all energy can be traced back to the sun. At 12:42 in the afternoon, we are about half an hour past solar noon, the point in which our sun reaches the highest point in its apparent daily journey across the sky, known as the ecliptic. This path actually changes throughout the year. The sun is currently climbing higher and higher in the sky and will make its highest journey across the sky in June before it starts getting lower and lower, and it will make its lowest journey across the sky in December. These high and low points correspond to the start of summer and winter. Today, as the Earth continues rotating on its axis, it does one full rotation every 24 hours, the sun will appear to continue moving across the sky, setting in the west. Using the power of Stellarium, we can speed up this process, watch the sun descend, and give us an idea of what we'll see tonight. Now we're gonna go to just where there's still a little bit of light left. We call this evening twilight. There's still just a little bit of glow left from the sun. And while you couldn't see it with your eyes, you couldn't see it with binoculars, but maybe with a telescope, there is a planet making an appearance right here at the edge near our sun. You can just barely see it. It is the closest planet to the sun in our system, Mercury. Even though Mercury is the closest planet, it is not the hottest planet, though you might assume that. Mercury lacks an atmosphere, so all the sun's heat hits its surface and then flows back out into space. The hottest planet is Venus, right after Mercury. Venus has a dense atmosphere of carbon dioxide that acts as a blanket to trap in the sun's heat. Temperatures on Venus can reach excesses of 500 degrees Fahrenheit. As we continue journeying a little bit further into the night, we can get some of those sun to go away. We saw an object racing across the sky. We'll rewind it a little bit. This guy, this fast-moving object is not a natural object. Rather, it's something made by humans. The International Space Station. The International Space Station is the largest, most expensive space laboratory humans have ever built. It is currently orbiting our planet and has done so since November 2nd, 2000. The space station is a joint effort between 11 different countries, mainly astronauts from America and cosmonauts from Russia, but also a great chunk from European countries like Italy and France. The ISS does all sorts of experiments to learn how space affects things like growing food, brushing our teeth, or just our bodies in general. The reason it looks like it's moving so fast is because it is. The ISS orbits the planet at a speed of 17,000 miles per hour, which lets it circle the globe one entire time every 90 minutes. You may have spotted another object, another planet that would be hard to see with your naked eye, Uranus. The second furthest planet from the sun, Uranus is very cold. Temperatures there can reach 400 degrees below zero. To see Uranus, you'll need a telescope. It's not one of those objects that's easily seen with your naked eye. However, NASA is pretty good at using telescopes. One of the big things that has been talked about in space news this year is the successful launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, which left the Earth on Christmas of this past year. Webb has reached its orbital destination 1 million miles away, 1 million miles away from Earth, and it's already sent back its very first image of a star in space. This image. Boop. So what you're seeing there in the center is a star that is 2,000 light years away. We are seeing light that first shone 2,000 years ago at the turn of the Common Era. At the time of the historical Jesus was the first time this light shone. The other red lights you see around it are not other stars, they're other galaxies. Huge, far away that things like the James Webb is letting us see thanks to science. Returning back outside, we'll continue going a little bit further into our night, and we'll spot another object overhead that you guys are surely familiar with, our moon. Today's moon is at 42% illumination, meaning it is in the waxing crescent phase. It has been increasing in light since last Friday's new moon, and it will continue getting brighter until it reaches a true full moon in about another 8 days. It takes about 29 days for the moon to go through all 8 of its phases, and it's from this cycle that we get the length of our month, our 1 month. The moon is also another exciting topic in space news. The big things you may have heard about this year is one, the James Webb Space Telescope. The other is the Artemis missions. Humans have been to the moon, but not in the past 50 years. The last time we were there was in 1972 as part of the Apollo 17 missions. But NASA is planning to return humans there within the next 2 years, thanks to the Artemis mission. Named for the twin sister of Apollo and the Greek goddess of the hunt and the moon, the Artemis missions are set out to send humans to the south pole of the moon for the very first time, as well as to put the first woman and first person of color on the moon by the year 2024. The Artemis missions use a brand new rocket, the biggest rocket that NASA has ever used. The Saturn V rocket was the standard for the Apollo missions. This rocket is called the SLS, or the Space Launch System. It uses 4 engines to send an Orion spacecraft outside of Earth's gravity so that we can get to things like the moon and eventually Mars. Artemis is devised of quite a few different trips into space. Again, the ultimate goal is to put human on Mars, but next month in May is when we will see the launch of Artemis I. Artemis I's mission is sort of a test mission. The first 3 missions are really, really exciting. What Artemis I will do is when it's launched next month, it will go into space, orbit the moon, and come back. If that's successful, next year we will launch Artemis II. The exact same thing, except this time there'll be people on board. It'll be sort of a nice little visit around the moon. If that's successful, then we get to the really exciting thing, Artemis III. Artemis III is what will ultimately land humans back on the moon thanks to something called the Lunar Gateway. This thing back here, on this side of the screen when I'm pointing out now, that's the Orion spacecraft. So that's what can fit up to 4 different people at a time. But that other object, this is the gateway. Artemis III is gonna put that up there to orbit the moon and stay in orbit. The same way that ISS orbits Earth, the gateway will orbit the moon. And it will act as a kind of, I like to think of it as like a gas station on a long car ride. If you're on a long car ride, sometimes you need to stop, get some snacks, maybe use the bathroom, and maybe get some more gas. That's kind of how the gateway will work. Instead of sending people directly to the moon, we'll send them to the gateway, they'll get acclimated, and then they'll go from the gateway to the moon. It's kind of a rest stop that lets us use fuel more efficiently, and it puts less tax on humans, because the trip to space can be a little difficult. It's not always the most comfortable thing. Again, if this works, the goal is to have humans on the moon by 2024, and then after that, to have humans on Mars by the year 2030. A lot of that has to do with these Artemis missions and this gateway that is behind me. So that tells us a little bit about our moon. Let's return back to our sky to get another idea of some of the things we'll see tonight. There are plenty of constellations that I enjoy. The popular winter constellation found by the 1, 2, 3 stars in the belt and 1, 2, 3 stars of the sheath of mighty Orion. The Hunter can still be seen for a few more nights before he descends past the horizon. If we look back at the moon, give me 1 second to get us there. There's another easily spotted constellation. Look at the moon for 2 very bright stars. These stars are named Pollux and Castor. They're known as the twin stars. They belong to the twin constellation Gemini, the twins. Gemini, beside Apollo, we find Taurus. And all these are known as the zodiac constellations. There's 12 of them, and this is a good place to spot the planets throughout the year. In fact, down in Aries is where we spotted Uranus just a few moments ago, Aries the Ram. So that gives you an idea of some of the things we can see in tonight's sky. Looking a little bit forward to the rest of the month of April, there are some other exciting astronomical events. On the 22nd of the month will be the peak of the Lyrid meteor shower. What we often call shooting stars are actually meteors, giant space rocks that are burning up in Earth's atmosphere to prevent brilliant streaks of light. They're fairly common, but viewing them is more of a chance of luck than it is a precise science. The Lyrid meteor shower peaks this month on the 22nd. It will start on the 16th and last till about the 22nd. And your best chance of viewing some of these shooting stars is early in the morning at about 5 a.m. right before sunrise. The Lyrid shower produces about 18 meteors per hour from our standpoint here in Danville. So if you want to see one, your best bet again would be the morning of April 22nd at 5 a.m. Gaze skyward and you may just see one of these shooting stars. And finally, the last very exciting event that is happening this month, on the 20th of this month, we will experience a partial solar eclipse. Unfortunately, this eclipse will not be viewable from America, but only parts of Antarctica and southern South America. An eclipse happens when the Earth, Moon, and Sun are lined up just perfectly. During a solar eclipse, the Moon is positioned between the Earth and Sun, creating a shadow. The Moon creates a shadow on the Earth. The dense shadow, which you see in the darker color there, is known as the umbra, and that's when the Sun is almost completely blocked out. And then there's a lighter shadow around it called the penumbra, where the Sun still appears to be blocked, but it doesn't reach totality. It doesn't look completely blocked at any time. So we can't see that eclipse, but what we will be able to see 2 years from today, exactly 2 years from today, on April the 8th, 2024, is the next great American total southern eclipse. That's when we can see the eclipse from anywhere across the country. Not everywhere will experience totality, so not everywhere will the sun look completely dark, but we'll at least get some coverage from definitely here in Virginia, as well as North Carolina and up and down the southern states. Again, that is 2 years from today, exactly. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can look forward to this month in April's night and daytime sky, and hopefully some of the missions, exciting things you can look forward to in space news going forward.